What is up, W Sports Podcast? The W Podcast is live again for the first time in a bit because we wanted to record our reactions to the college football playoff. We didn't have time yesterday, so you know what? The episode's coming out today. It just makes sense. So, Jimothy, Tubby, we are back at it again to bring you today all of our reactions to, like I said, the college football playoff. Those who got snubbed, maybe some good bowl matchups. We're even going to have some Heisman conversations, some transfer portal. It's a great time to be subscribed to the show. But, Tubby, welcome back.
It's great to be back, especially live. It's a little different. It's been a couple months since we've done this, so kind of get back into the groove of it. And if we
It
mess
is.
up, it's live.
100% true. Yeah, we're going to see how it goes. But yeah, I'm a little rusty. So feel free to jump in the chat with any of your reactions, especially if maybe your team, maybe you're a SMU fan and you're stoked. You're Alabama and you're furious right now, South Carolina. There are lots of teams out there, I think, that have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder this week. But hey, it ultimately resulted in Alabama versus Michigan, which that's a bowl game. When we look at that, that's a win.
How does Michigan get that game?
The helmet, man. That is all it is. The helmet. But because here's the thing, I do think that, again, this is a side note. If Alabama makes the playoff, OU's in that game because of the helmet. That's
Because
because
of the
that's
helmet.
all it's about at that point.
Yeah, probably.
So, anyway, that's what we're going to talk about today. But Tubby, we just got released right before we went live the Heisman finalists, so we're actually going to start there because we got 4 candidates right now. Again, I think 3 out of 4. I think this podcast kind of predicted at the beginning of the year. I like the fact that you just got to listen in that sense. But Tubby, do you got the list in front of you? If not, I can read them
Yeah,
off.
I got you. Yeah, well, you got the front runner right now from odds-on favorite Travis Hunter, which
Hmm.
is one that you actually predicted as your dark horse for
I still
for
like
the
him as the
Heisman.
winner. I like
Yeah,
him as the winner this year.
yeah. I picked. We both picked Dylan Gabriel as the winner. He is
That
in
makes
a
sense.
finalist. Yeah, Cam Ward, and then of course Ashton Genty with the season he's had.
Hmm. Yeah, and so of all those, who's the long shot as it is now? You think?
Uh, Cam Ward. Honestly, I think that they did a disservice to Cam Scadaboo. As great a season as Cam Ward had, I think you got to look at what Scadaboo's done over the
Yeah,
last 2 months of the season.
yeah,
And I honestly, I wouldn't have been mad if he was there instead of Cam Ward.
yeah. At least even you could have had 5. Right? I don't
Yeah.
know how often they have 5, but I think that could have happened. He really did carry Arizona State. For those who didn't know
Mm-hmm.
Scadaboo, I mean, it's not necessarily a household name yet, but
Yeah.
he has absolutely transformed his college career over the last few years because he listened to great coaching and he has done a great job. And he dominated Iowa State. Still
Yeah.
looking for their first Big 12 championship, but don't worry, Arizona State, their first year, they already have their first Big 12 championship. Dude, to me, I think you're right. He is the dark horse right now. Is going to be Cam Ward, probably because they didn't make the playoff. Had they made the
Hmm.
playoff, they make stay undefeated. He has probably
Yeah.
the best shot. And I
Hmm.
think what's weird is I think the next one is going to be Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
He's in third, even though he carried his. He's the only undefeated team. Won the Big Ten, beat Ohio State, beat Penn State.
Yep.
But you look at it, and maybe it's because they play over on the West Coast and they play a lot of those later games. It's Oregon. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know if that's what it is, but
Yeah. I think big part of it was that early on he didn't put up like the big numbers against some of the easier teams.
mhm.
He had good numbers, especially completion percentage. Like the Boise State game, he was like, or no, maybe it wasn't the Boise State game. It was one of those early on games where they barely won the game, but he was like 30 for 35 or something like that, 300 yards, and then no touchdowns.
Mhm.
And that some of those games like that, yeah, the numbers look good, but it was the touchdown numbers and stuff weren't up early on, and I think that
Mhm.
was a part of the reason why he wasn't looked at early as often as like Cam Ward was.
Yeah, and obviously Genty, who I think you would say is your favorite. I have
Yeah,
Hunter as my favorite, or at least who maybe not the favorite, but who we think
who you
should
think?
win it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
give me why you think it should be Genty.
I mean, I think it's just based off the fact one there's not a single player in college football this year that every year when it comes to Heisman, you go, yeah, that guy, especially quarterback wise, you go, yep, that guy should win it. That guy should win it. And this year, with it being such a weak, quarterback class or whatever, I think what Ashton Jeanty has done, you take him off that Boise State team. That Boise State team is not in the playoffs. That
Oh,
Boise
for
State
sure.
team has maybe 5 losses right now. You do the same with Travis Hunter. You take him off Colorado. Colorado's exactly where they are right now.
I disagree. I don't think so.
He's not even the leading receiver on his own team.
Yeah, but I think you're vastly underestimating what he brings to that team offensive. He's a leader. I don't necessarily. I hear what you're saying.
You're telling me that they wouldn't be 2 losses, 3 losses. I mean,
I think they'd have more.
I don't think they would.
I mean,
honestly, I don't think they would. He is a great player. I get that, and I think people are so hyped on the amount of snaps he plays, which is an incredible thing. I'm not taking that away from him, but he's not one of the top, corners in college football when it comes to interceptions. And we're talking about numbers. That's what the Heisman is about numbers.
I think sometimes I think it's the best player in college
football. If that's the case, then why didn't Will Anderson win it a couple years ago?
Why
didn't Aiden Hutchinson? Well, so
defense.
does
I agree with you on
so
that.
does
I get
Travis
that.
Hunter. And that's what I'm saying. If it goes to the best player, a quarterback wouldn't win it every single year.
Okay, I agree. It's a quarterback-driven sport, but I just think that you take him off that team as leader. That team is maybe 6-6 at best.
No, not even close.
Oh,
not even close.
Do you know what? Can you even give me his stats?
It's 1,000 yards receiving, 12 touchdowns,
15 total touchdowns. He's got 1,100 yards, plus 4 picks, a forced fumble. I'm just saying he plays both sides of the ball. I get that. Heisman.
No, he's not.
Now,
just because everyone is so enamored by it's because of the amount of snaps. If that was the case, a couple of years ago, the dude from Stanford would have won it. Owen Hewitt would have won it. He played linebacker and he played fullback and had
no linebacker fullback combo should. This is a skill position.
Miles Jack did the same thing. Played linebacker, played running back. Was the leading rusher for UCLA, back in the early 2010.
Are you going to be disappointed or upset whenever he wins it?
No, because I expect him to win it. I don't think he should win it. I think Ashton Jeanty, what he has done is incredible. The amount of, like you said, if you take him off that team is nowhere close to the playoff. They're not, they maybe be a 500, team. And you take Travis Hunter, you put him on Boise State. Are they where they are right now? Don't think so.
Okay. All I'm saying is I think he's the Heisman candidate. And here's what's funny is, dude, we agree on almost everything, which is probably frustrating in the sports world. We're supposed to bicker more. This is the one thing I think I've seen you get the most hyped about. And I'm like, but here I'm sitting here, I'm like, bro, you're wrong.
But I get people's argument. I mean, and this is the perfect year for him.
Yeah.
Because like you said, there's not a quarterback this year that you look at and go, they absolutely deserve it, or with the numbers wise. And so it was the perfect storm for him. Really, it was. And same thing for Jeanty. I mean, even if there was a outstanding quarterback this year, if Dylan Gabriel's numbers were just slightly better, Dylan Gabriel would probably be the favorite, and it wouldn't be close. But the fact is that there's just not that guy this year, and it's kind of the same thing with Devonta. What happened with Devonta Smith?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where he was, not taken away from the season Devonta Smith had. Devonta Smith had an incredible season, but it wasn't like one of the greatest wide receiver seasons ever. Yeah. But there just wasn't another guy, that deserved it. And so I'm not saying Travis Hunter doesn't deserve it, because what he does is absolutely incredible. I just think Ashton Jeanty deserves it a little bit more.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna find out who wins, and then either we'll be happy about it, or one of us will be like, should go on the other guy. Either way, this is what sports is good about. But we're gonna move ourselves a little bit over into the college football playoff world before we get to some of the other news and notes. We had a great question here in the chat. So first off, we'll start with the seeding itself. Obviously, I don't think anybody pictured the teams who got the bye week at the beginning of the season, in the middle of the season, or even last week, who ended up getting the bye. So do you think that having the bye is actually a helpful thing for most of these teams outside of maybe Georgia?
No. I mean, not really, just because we see it a lot in sports. the bye doesn't always play into your favor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it may give you a chance, for rest and get guys healthy. That helps, but it also gives you a little bit longer to not play and take you out of that groove. I mean, it's long enough not to play heading into a bowl game or to a New Year's Six bowl game. Now you're taking an extra week, or a little bit longer now, because now you have to sit there and wait, and now you have to sit there and plan. Whether outside of that, another team, they go, okay, well, we know if we win, we know who we're playing.
Mm-hmm.
That team, they don't know who they're playing. They have two teams that they have to, go, oh, we'll have to play for two.
Yeah. Was their team that you look at their road to the championship that they actually got a pretty tough chance? Like they didn't get dealt a fair hand.
Yeah. The number one team. Oregon.
Okay.
Oregon has the toughest road.
I would agree. I definitely agree.
And it makes no sense whatsoever that you get the tough, the team that has gone undefeated all season, beat everyone they've played, and you give them the toughest road. I think that they need to fix it and do not really reseeding, but it needs to go to, okay, the worst team that won in the first round, that's who plays number one. And
so kind of like NFL reseeding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead of going, okay, this is a set bracket, that's what it is, because it's not fair for the number one team in the country to end up having to play what they have right now, even though they're the 8-9 seed, as the 5th, 6th seed, or 7th seed in the playoffs, being either Tennessee or Ohio State, instead of you get a team like Penn State, who
should walk into the semifinals.
Yeah,
not walk, but they should dominate into the semifinals.
A lot. Yeah, they have a lot better track, position to get there, and it to me, it's not fair. I mean, why play and win? Oregon should have lost.
I know that was they dominated the first half. They really, I don't know what defensive scheme they did, but it was not good. But that is what I agree. That's how you fix this. I agree. Still give the bye to the top 4 conference champions, because you need to reward them for winning.
Yeah.
But I do think that is the next move. They have to reseed, because when you look at this, it is very obvious that it's like, oh, that is going to be tough. The only thing that I think that would have made me laugh is if Notre Dame would have gotten the 6th seed instead. And I'm like, if Notre Dame doesn't get an easier walk in, that. But they do have to play Indiana. We'll see how real Indiana's against that. But then Georgia, and how healthy is Georgia at that point, we'll see. But this is a really good point brought up by Mike in the chat, actually. He said, please explain how Ohio State finished 4th in the Big Ten, gets an 8th seed, and there are only 3 SEC teams that go. By the way, Ohio State all times 2-14 against the SEC in bowl games, which just a little fun caveat he put out there. But how did I get that seed?
Honestly, I don't know. There was a lot of people who are complaining that they were lower than Penn State because they beat Penn State, and I'm like, okay, but Penn State made it to the Big Ten championship game, and one of their 2 losses was in the Big Ten championship game. That's why you lost to a Michigan team who is terrible this year. The fact that you're that high, I think, is crazy. Honestly, I don't see how it works that way. But then again, it goes, where do you put them then? Because really the only difference is maybe you could have flipped it and put them 9. That way they don't get the home game, and Tennessee ends up with the home game instead of Ohio State. But I don't understand it. I think the rankings, I don't understand how they do some of them. Like, oh, Clemson, you won the ACC, but you were 16th overall in our rankings. But since you won, you're in, but you're going to be the 12th team.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree. It doesn't make sense to me. And then but Tennessee is playing at Ohio State because the way the seeding worked out. I mean, I do think that's going to play a huge piece of these home road games with these first 4 all being at the campus, which I love. I love that way better than a neutral site. I kind of wish that only the semifinals were a neutral site. That's just me.
Yeah.
Look, imagine Boise State getting to host a playoff game. That'd be incredible. I mean, come on.
That would be awesome.
Let's make some adjustments here, but it is going to be good. We don't have to pick the games this week, and we probably won't, because It is December 9th. December 20th is the
Yeah.
game. So next week we will be actually be looking at picking these games, but we want to know what your picks are going to be as we go through this because we're already at minute 15 and we still want to get to a couple other news and notes. So again, if you have any questions or thoughts, please put that in the chat when it comes to this. We'll make sure we bring those up. But looking at the transfer portal, we saw some news. We text back and forth a little bit about this one. A 5-star quarterback and Jackson Arnold looks like he might be heading to a new destination, but one that's familiar.
Yeah. A really smart move by him. If that's where he ends up at Mississippi State with Jeff Lebby, he knows the system. He trusts Jeff Lebby. Lebby was a huge reason why he came to Oklahoma. And because he was, originally thinking about going to Ole Miss, where Lebby was an assistant coach at that time, but wasn't quite sure about the atmosphere and everything there. And now he's going to follow him. And that was a big worry whenever Lebby left. A lot of people thought maybe Arnold would follow him last year. Probably should have after the,
After what
happened.
we saw, yeah.
Yeah, what transpired in Oklahoma this year. But I think it's a smart move by him. But, man, there are some big-time playmakers in the transfer portal already, or potential playmakers in the transfer portal already, and a lot of them are 5-star wide receivers from last year's recruiting class.
Yeah, what is that? Is that just, hey, I'm going to get more money, or I'm tired of waiting, I want to go play? What is it? Is there a theme in this, or is it case by case?
Like the Cam Coleman thing, I don't quite understand that one from Auburn. Yeah, maybe because the quarterback situation there is not the best, but he played a lot. It wasn't due to playing time for him. So maybe a part of it is he just doesn't like what Hugh Freeze is bringing, what quarterback situation is there. That's understandable. Micah Hudson, that one I don't quite understand what was going on in Texas Tech. Yeah, you had a 5-star wide receiver, you just didn't play him a whole lot. Chris Odom, Alabama kid. That one, I think that a big part of it is the fact that I think he's probably more suitable for a tight end. I mean, the kid's 6'5", 227 pounds right now as a true freshman in college. I think that he's more suitable for that, but it's kind of crazy to see them give up that, or not really give up, but, change that fast and start moving on. I mean, you need a wide receiver. There's some big time guys out there already.
Yeah, and I think wide receiver, and then quarterback tend to be the biggest pieces. Obviously, offensive line is a very important piece, and there's lots of ones that are doing that. I don't think you should be trying to put together a championship team, and I don't mean by like college football champions. I mean a conference championship team with the portal in any conference you're in. I just don't think it works. I think you have to. Everybody out there says, I'm going to go to the transfer portal and I'm going to go recruit and I'm going to do this way. And I think you can get pieces, but you can't build culture that way really well. And I think that is what's going the coach or the staff that can really tweak this and do this really well is going to be the one that becomes the next like Nick Saban. Now, how long that lasts, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think when everybody else is going one way, they have to think through one layer deeper and go that way. And I think, hear me out on this, Bill Belichick may be that dude. I know he's 72, but he's still. It's writings on the wall. There's a lot of smoke that he's going to North Carolina, and he said on, I think it was Pat McAfee show or something like that on ESPN, that he was going to run this like an NFL franchise. And if he does that, I 100% buy into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it would work out because it's either he's going to be too brash for today's day and the kids aren't going to take to it too much.
Yeah.
Or kids are going to go, this guy's won how many Super Bowls? He knows how to win. It's one of the greatest coaches ever in, sports history. Yeah, I'm going to go play for that guy.
Well, here's the reality is we've already seen this in the college basketball world 10 years ago plus, right? We saw the Kentucky one and done, the Dukes a little bit one and dones, and we thought that was going to be the future of all college football and recruiting was going to matter. But let me ask you this. Who has won the last couple of championships in college basketball?
Old teams.
Old teams. And so even if a guy like Bill Belichick is not going to get all the best top 3, top 5, top 10 classes year after year after year, what I think he will do is he will find the guys that he always did with the Patriots. He's going to coach them up. He's going to get guys that buy into, I want to get the maximum potential out of me that I can. Yeah. And he's going to do something with that. And they're going to be really good in these elements. Dude, I'm just telling you, think about it. Yeah, it just makes too much sense.
Yeah, I agree. He definitely is a guy that probably has something most coaches don't have. I mean, a lot of these coaches are good at developing, but this guy we have seen him develop players in the NFL that when they got drafted, you're like, who?
Who?
Where'd they come from?
Yeah.
That was a weird pick. And then all of a sudden, 5 years down the line, they're contributing, big factor into a Super Bowl team or something.
Dude. Yeah. So we'll see if they can work out the final details of all those kind of things. But it just looks like the writing's on the wall for that. Miller Moss, Jackson Arnold, Connor Wegman, Caden Salter,
Yeah.
are some of the big quarterbacks. We mentioned Jackson Arnold right now. Any one of those that you think they will have a step up in the next at their next stop, like that you think that actually this will be an improvement?
I'm going to throw out a name that you didn't mention.
Okay.
Darian Mensah, Tulane's freshman quarterback.
Yep.
Has entered the transfer portal. We saw what he did as
Mm-hmm.
true freshman. I think this kid has immense amount of talent that he slipped through the cracks. It just goes to show you stars don't always matter. When it comes to high school recruiting, I think that this kid is going to be one of the most sought after players in the transfer portal, and it's going to work out really well for someone that if they can get him in there and develop him in, keep on developing this kid, he's going to be a big time college player in the next couple of years.
Yeah. What's ESPN did, I think it was ESPN, they did a vote on this, and it had almost 3,000 votes, but they had those 5, including Mensa. And they said, who would you most want your school to get? Do you know what the number one was?
No.
Miller Moss.
Really?
Dude lost his job this year. I don't understand that one. I see the pieces as a good college quarterback, but not a next level guy. I think right now Jackson Arnold is broken, and maybe that's why going to a familiar place, maybe he can get to a place where he is no longer broken.
Yeah.
I think Salter has the best chance to take a step up outside of Mensa. And I'm thinking through like DJ Uiagalelei whenever he went to Oregon State. Not when he went to Florida State, but when he went to Oregon State.
Yeah.
I'm picturing that as a good step up. Or even Keem Ward when he went from Incarnate Ward to Washington State. Great step up.
Yeah, I think another name that would be interesting if it happens or not, that I've seen get floated out there, is Jalen Daniels, potentially leaving Kansas and taking his final year and going somewhere to try to develop
he said he was
a little
staying.
bit more. I've seen that there's reports out there that he is talking about potentially leaving, even though there's reports out there saying that he's staying.
Oh, I hope he stays.
But if he doesn't, someone's going to get themselves a guy that had a down season. For what
second half was great.
Second half was so much better. If that's the case, he's going to have pretty much every Power 5 school ringing that phone that needs quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think we're at the 22-minute mark. We're probably going to have to wrap this one up. But tell me any final words that we have before we hit pause, and we'll pick it back up tomorrow with some NFL updates.
No, I think we got it all. We spewed a lot of information there.
We sure did. So if you guys have not already, please hit subscribe for the show. We'd love to have you be a part of it every single episode, whether you're in the chat, downloading it, or sharing it. It goes a long way to support the show. So thank you so much. Again, we have giveaways once a month. You can get that simply by subscribing to the show. We have one going on. We had hints from last week's episode. You can go back to listen to those. So that way you can get, if you guess it right in the chat, then you actually can get extra entries into it. So stick with us. We got another episode tomorrow. Till then.
And there'll be another hint.
Ooh, tomorrow. Okay, let's go. All right. Well, till then, we'll see y'all next time.